Right, let's do an update. Quick look inside the summer house. Middle of January. It's been fairly mild. We're going to get another bit of a cold patch, but we'll have a look and see how the plants are doing inside the summer house. And to be fair, I haven't actually been in here for 3 weeks. I do open the door occasionally to let a bit of air exchange. I have got a small fan running in here all the time just to circulate the air, but to be fair, I haven't watered in here for over 6 months. And not that most of these plants will need any water during the winter, but there's a couple I'd like to, keep a little bit damp at least. So fishtail palm seems to be doing okay. Even the alocasias, some of the older leaves are sort of starting to fade out, so I'm going to have to cut them back before it gets a bit messy in here. But surprisingly still holding on to some leaves, considering this is only heated to, well, it doesn't drop below 4 degrees, 3 or 4 degrees, so it never gets a frost in here. And on the certain days it will warm up to an extent. Now, I have to say that I know a lot of you probably already know that, but every time I do a video in here, people ask me, well, how do you heat it? Well, it's not really heat, it's just frost protection. But again, greenhouse effect, that does warm up during the day on a sunny day. So yeah, we've got a selection of alocasias there which seem to be doing fine even in the cold. So we've got maybe you can see it right at the back. There's an Adora. We've got a Sumo, which is the big leaf you can see at the front here, and behind that we've got a Patora, and they're all pretty good nick, considering pretty good nick for the prolonged period. Again, I won't be watering them whatsoever until at least March, when things light levels improve and things start to warm up a little bit. But they're not a problem. In fact, we've even got a Alocasia macrorrhiza here, quite a big one, and leaves are looking good. Look better in here than if I try to bring them into the house as a house plant. They really don't like it. They'd rather be dry and cold. Right, so we've got the selection of Kentia palms at the back. They could do with the water, so I'm going to have to get to them at some point. I'd still like to keep them a little bit of dampness going on them. Bird of paradise at the back, probably could use a little drop of water, but in general they're okay when it's temperatures are so low. I've got a selection of house plants here which I didn't expect to survive, so you've got some crotons and whatnot in there. If they regrow again in spring, fine. If they don't, I'll chuck them. Yeah, I've got the Oranga angulari, dwarf sugar palm. That seems to tolerate going through winter in here okay. Sort of slightly yellowy leaves, but you expect that this time of year, not taking up any nutrients. And that was the fairly new leaf that opened up, so we know that's not going to do particularly well, but it does well enough to pull through and look good for the next season. Behind that we've got Rhapis excelsior, lady palm. So last year I had that indoors as a house plant, but didn't have space for it, so we're going to have it out here. They are pretty tough. I might even plant that out next year or next season, spring or summer, in a shady sheltered spot to give that a try. Yeah, so we've got some more bird of paradise here. Did notice they're starting to send out a flower spike. They do tend to this time of year, when that cold patch seems to encourage the flowering. Literally I can't even step in here because I've just moved some some plants into to shelter from the cold few days we're going to be having. The split leaf philodendron. That's absolutely fine, keep that on the dry side. Right at the bottom here we've got the agave attenuata, so they don't take the frost, so they're in here, but they will be absolutely fine, just kept bone dry. Selection of small palms and stuff on the table there, some succulents. So we come over to this side where we've got some, again, some small palms and the bananas. One thing that hasn't done well, which I didn't think it would, and I'll probably end up losing, is this traveller's palm. You can see the leaves have give up. Even the newest, latest leaf is sort of curled up. Might give it a little bit of a water, but because it is bone dry, the pot, but I really don't think that's gonna like being wet and cold. Yeah, can't go through all the palms, but we have got various. You've got a Phoenix Rogalini and some other Phoenix species here, Sylvestris and all types. Got some small bananas, and interestingly, the little lotus bananas, which I divided out, are still looking quite good, nice and green. Even some very small Enset Morellii, so the red bananas, even they're looking okay. So they're just potted up and brought in here, kept dry. The green Enset, we can see, is not looking so good, so I'll be cutting some leaves off that. The larger red Ensets are absolutely fine. So this is like the one leaf I left on it, and it's still pushing very slowly out a new leaf from the centre, which would be the same with this one this side. And I've actually been quite impressed. I've got some more red Ensets at the back there, but we've got the Heniba, Enset Heniba, which is yeah, one of the leaves have yellowed out, but the top two leaves are still looking nice and green on that. So again, that's just been kept bone dry. So that's how things are looking. Yeah, I could do with some bit of tidying up in here and cutting some dead foliage off. We don't want to start encouraging mould or any nasty pests. And right at the bottom, let's see if we can get in it. So this is right underneath the table here in a dark area. Most of the colocaceae that I've dug up and brought in all kept bone dry. They're pretty much all died back, which I thought they would, apart from one which seems to be pushing out a new leaf at the back there. Yeah, so they're just going to try this way rather than dry storing the tubers. I was just going to, I did dry store quite a few, but these ones I thought I'd just dig up, put in a you know, dry mix and see how they do over winter, see if they start any quicker in the spring. And there is various different species of colocaceae there, Escalente, Coal Miner, Black Magic. So we'll see if they come back, or if they don't, we'll just got to try these things, ain't we? We have got some bromeliads under the table there, and they seem absolutely fine, just kept dry again. I've got the old variegated shell ginger here, which is obviously not enjoying the conditions, but I didn't have space in the house for it, so all the leaves are curled up on that. I'm hoping, kept dry, we can get that going again in the spring. Right, so there's just a little update for you. In general, yes, it's messy, yes, it needs tidying up and some foliage cutting back, but in general things are looking okay, considering, like I say, I literally haven't watered for, I want to say 6 weeks, but probably be even longer than that. But things are hanging in there. Like I say, this is not about making things grow over winter or look particularly pretty. It's just about survival, and if you've got no other option than to chuck them in a shed or summer house, then it works. But don't expect your plants to look perfect, because they won't, but they will pull through and they'll start growing a bit quicker in the spring. Right, let's leave it there. Thanks for watching.